We have this great declaration from Andy, I'm a whole damn town.
One take, one take, one take, one
Greetings from Tokyo, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and I very, very much hope that this video finds you well and in very, very good spirits wherever you are in the world. And today, let us talk more about Twin Peaks, this great, great show, which is called Twin Peaks. And I'd like to talk today about the episode which is known as episode 12 of this great show. This is from Barry Pullman and Graham Clifford. And again, we have so many things going on in this episode 12, leading up to and including this episode 12. So as with these discussions about each of the episodes, I'd like to focus our attention on the details leading up to and including such episode. I won't be focusing on anything beyond episode 12. But of course, I think for me and for many others maybe who are here, I know that you have already seen Twin Peaks. But let us again keep focused on everything leading up to and including this episode. Also, as I say, I am not in any way an expert when it comes to Twin Peaks. I do get all my details wrong, and so I know I will do so going forward as well. So I apologize in advance, and I apologize for any past mistakes that I've made. But I do come at this as a big fan of the show, having seen it so many times, and I cannot get enough of it. I love it so much, and that includes this episode 12. So let us go with. We have more dreams. This time we have the waking up of Cooper in the morning and talking to Diane about the dream about the tasteless gumdrop, which happens to have been one of the earplugs that he has had. So it's a very interesting transition from dreamscape into the landscape of reality, as it were, again with the idea of more ideas about dreams and visions, as we have been speaking about over the course of many an episode here in Twin Peaks. Well, here we have more of that in a very interesting linkage. So, and this also encourages him to extend his yoga exercise, which involves doing a handstand upside down, but that allows him to see at long last this note that was left behind under his door by Audrey many an episode ago. And so now, at last, we have a very important clue that will lead Cooper to the understanding that Audrey is now being held captive at One-Eyed Jacks, and this will also bring together the plot line involving Jean Renault and Ben Horne and the ransom, and Cooper being involved. And also in this episode, we understand that Hank is also being involved, or he is brought in by Ben in order to essentially double cross everyone, double cross Cooper, double cross Jean Renault in order to get Audrey back and also hopefully get the money in return. So there's a lot of potential betrayal and hidden agenda going on. What's new, right, in the world of Twin Peaks? I mean, this is the stuff of Twin Peaks gold, in a manner of speaking. So in any event, we have this wheel in motion. Also, if we recall, the Bookhouse Boy that will be working with Cooper is none other than Sheriff Truman. And so they will be working kind of in secret, in cahoots with each other. But thank goodness for them, they can't keep a secret very well, right, according to Hawk, because later on in the final climactic battle, if you will, of this episode, and it's very much like an action-oriented episode. There's a lot of action sequences here. The infiltration of One-Eyed Jacks being, I think, the climactic centerpiece. We have, of course, our heroes in grave danger. We have Nancy, of course, but Nancy is subdued. We have the intrigue between Jean Renault and Blackie, and the betrayal of Blackie by Jean Renault with this hidden knife contraption. And then, of course, we have they're attempting to escape with Audrey, who is unconscious. But now there's a guard at the door. Will they escape? It looks like our heroes are in very big trouble. But Hawk, none other than Hawk, steps in at just the right moment and saves the day, as it were. So well done, Hawk, for being able to do that. So it is a real action set piece. And I think we have the death of Blackie, or at least it looks like the death of Blackie, and also Jean Renault is still in the proceedings, so to speak. I should mention too, there's the idea of Hank trying to enter into the proceedings at the behest of Ben Horne, but Hank is kind of caught by Jean Renault, and Jean Renault thinks that Hank is Daryl Lodwick, because earlier in a past episode, I forgot to mention this in the past discussion, but remember Hank took the wallet or the ID, and he understands from the customer at the diner, and he understands therefore that this customer is not MT Wentz, but rather Daryl Lodwick, the prosecutor. So. And that's, I guess, he still had it on his person when Jean Renault came up from behind when they were at One-Eyed Jacks together at night during this final climactic battle. So very interesting stuff indeed. What all this double cross and miscommunication and secret identity and mistaken identity and the like. So, but still, Jean Renault is still out and about, and Jean Renault apparently is one of the big bad guys here of this series. Going forward. So we'll have to see what he does in retaliation to this very, again, climactic action-adventure event set piece. That is the infiltration on One-Eyed Jacks and the rescue of Audrey Horne. At long last, too, I mean, another thing, too, about Twin Peaks, which is very fascinating, maybe up to now, and maybe even going forward, who knows, we'll have to see, is the way in which characters might be said to be somewhat in what might, for lack of a better phrase, passive mode. Audrey was for a number of episodes held captive at One-Eyed Jacks. We also have so far Leo Johnson, who is in a coma. And so before in the episodes in season 1, he was very active, very much part of the game, as it were. But now we don't see him out and about because of his condition. So this is another situation where a character seems to be quote unquote sidelined, or maybe not necessarily as active as he or she might have been before. We might see similar types of treatments of characters who might have been very much in the central part of the action, but then seemingly quote unquote sidelined, or maybe put in some kind of passive situation for a number of episodes, only to maybe see some kind of transition or evolution at some point later down the line. Again, we'll see. But this treatment of various characters is very fascinating. You know, some characters need to be in the fore while others recede into the background, and then vice versa. And this switch and this push and pull is part of how a network TV show like Twin Peaks at the time when it was broadcast, you know, and even now, a TV show like Twin Peaks, which has all these characters, can really hold its own and keep a well struck balance between and among everyone that's involved. So. Incidentally, speaking of the wheels of justice, here we have the continuation of the Judge Sternwood line, and so he's here, of course, because of two specific purposes. One, because of the bail hearing for Leland Palmer, and other for the competency hearing for Leo Johnson. And so he presides over each. And for the former, he, of course, brings after some testimony from Sheriff Truman, as well as deliberation and also consideration of his past dealings with Leland Palmer and the kind of character evidence with regard to Leland Palmer. He decides to have Leland be held without bail. I'm sorry. The idea is he's able to leave on his own recognizance without having to be kept in custody. So this means that it's a very interesting set of developments. You know, I'm not a criminal lawyer, and so I don't know the workings of criminal law and murder and bail. But my understanding is murder is a very serious crime. Murder is also, again, in the laws or context of criminal laws in the United States, is usually set by state law. And therefore, I'm not sure what the state laws say when it comes to bail rules and murder. But I would assume that either in some states bail is not available, to be released on bail is not available for murder suspects, or if it is available, it would be at a high value, at a high bail amount. So this deliberation is very surprising for me, again, from my own limited and non-professional, non-expert capacity. But this is a very interesting way in which the application of justice in the criminal justice system is being applied in the world of Twin Peaks. A similar type of situation seems to be had with regard to the Leo Johnson competency hearing. Of course, the ruling is that Leo Johnson is not fit to stand trial, and then he'll be allowed to go home under the custody and care of Shelley Johnson, we understand, and also in the sideline insurance fraud scam plan, cousin Bobby. So this also brings into the idea Tim Pinkle and the whole seat contraption swing apparatus, which is very funny, and it's also very absurd, and also in a very interesting way too. This thing with Leo Johnson and the chair and the apparatus and the hooks and the chains there. This also is, in many ways, it's so absurd looking that it's in a kind of way a metaphor for a type of prison, or type of contraption that could be said to be so cumbersome that it acts like a type of prison. But prison for whom? Is it a prison for Leo Johnson, or is it a prison for Shelley Johnson? And indeed, there is a moment at the scene with Bobby and Tim Pinkle and Shelley Johnson earlier on in the episode where Shelley expresses a little bit of doubt, does she not, about is this a good idea or not? This seems to be pushed on a lot by Bobby, again, getting the money for Leo Johnson because of his disabled status. But is this really a good idea? We'll again see if this turns into something or indeed nothing. Maybe Shelley's worried about nothing, or maybe she has a good reason to worry. Again, we'll have to see going forward. And then we also have the situation too, speaking of other couples too, and the home life. We see Nadine coming home. Nadine thinks she is 18 again. And so we see James reacting to this. We already see Ed, his wonderful facial expressions going to this. And we see Nadine and her superhuman strength breaking, I think it's the refrigerator door, and asking about where mom and dad are. And they're out and, okay, that's fine. She panics for a little bit, talking about meeting James in school. And James and Ed are just talking while she's out. And Ed says, Dr. Hayward says, you just got to roll with the punches. So he's here we have Ed just rolling with the punches. So we'll see what this leads down into in terms of him attempting to roll with the punches. Again, remember Ed's relationship with Norma, or maybe at the present time, lack of a relationship with Norma. But we'll see what happens, if anything at all. We also have to see how Nadine's presence, her new lease on life in a manner of speaking, her superhuman strength, how this will affect the relationship going forward between Nadine herself and Ed. And what will Ed do? How will this adopt and react going forward? And of course, this means too the element of entering into high school again. So will Nadine go into high school? What will this encompass? What will the things be going on? So we'll have to see. Incidentally, too, in this conversation, we understand Dr. Jacoby is away, recovering from the heart attack. So he's out of the picture right now. So Doc Hayward now is also showing his great, wide, expansive expertise also in apparently psychology, covering for the absence of Dr. Jacoby apparently. So in any event, whether it's direct or indirect, in any event, it's very fascinating. And go Doc Hayward, Speaking of Doc Hayward, Andy has a lot to thank because of Andy's his sterility, or in fact, it's I understand not complete lack of sperm count, but low sperm count. And we understand this because we see that according to Doc Hayward's analysis or reanalysis, he's not just 3 men on a fishing trip. He's a whole damn town. And so we have this great declaration from Andy. I'm a whole damn town. And so that must be quite a town indeed. I don't know if to understand what he's describing in terms of I'm a whole damn town, and what that means in the context of the metaphor in Twin Peaks and Andy and his medical condition. I don't know if someone asked me, do you want to visit that town, Daisuke? And I think, well, maybe I'd probably hold off on visiting that town that Andy is mentioning there. But that doesn't mean that I'm any less happy about his current situation. I'm very happy for him because I'm also a fan of Andy. And so the fact that he is so happy that, I'm a whole damn town, good for you, Andy. Chin up, Andy, chin up. But again, as Sheriff Truman says to his aside to Cooper, don't ask. All right, so a lot of things going on. So, but we also understand that maybe Lucy is not away the way she is saying, because the number that is on the desk there, when Andy with all of his situation there at the desk, it might be an abortion clinic. Who knows what's going on with that? So we're not sure what's going to happen in terms of the situation between Andy and Lucy, and also by extension, Lucy and Dick Tremaine. But we shall have to see. We shall have to see going forward. So there's a lot going on there. Again, the intrigue is leveling upon intrigue. Fascinating stuff all around. Also, in terms of the intrigue, we have to remember that this is the episode I mentioned to, before I leave Jean Renault, I should mention too, Jean Renault is still in the proceedings. He is showing his villainy. I forgot to mention in the last episode discussion about how Jean Renault essentially killed Emery Battis, right, in a gunshot, and so he's really a villain. Jean Reno is. And we see what happens in terms of the climax of this particular episode, of course. So we'll see what Jean Reno and his dealings will have in store for Dale Cooper and the characters here. But speaking of his connection with Ben Horne and Ben Horne into the picture, we have also Ben Horne's business relations, or maybe the start of some kind of business relation between him and this mysterious figure, Tojamura. And Tojamura is also accompanied by a someone that we might have seen actually in a previous episode. If you recall that note that Audrey left under the door of Cooper in his hotel room, she walks down the hallway. I think it's an episode in season 1. And she sees in passing an Asian man entering into a room. And it looks like this Asian man is very similar looking to an Asian man that is standing next to Mr. Tojamura when they are in the office of Ben Horne. But in any event, what these connections are, we're not quite sure. Tojamura apparently is representing some financial interests, Tokyo Bank financial institution interests in Japan, very interested in the Ghostwood development. So with $5 million check. So this is something that was very enticing. Again, bringing the Ghostwood development estates situation back into the fold. And interestingly, this is one of the key, in many ways, one of the key MacGuffins of Twin Peaks. It's something that, of course, Ben Horne and by extension, the other characters in that plot line are very much interested in. So Ben and Jerry in particular. So now this is back in the fold. Tojamura is now showing something about who he is or who he might be, let's put it that way. But we shall keep an eye on what this will lead to maybe in future episodes going forward. But again, very interesting stuff indeed. I should say also that we have also the parallel storyline of, the attack on, or the infiltration on One-Eyed Jacks. Also, we have that in parallel with the infiltration of Harold Smith's home and his essentially private quarters by Donna, and then in combination by Donna and Maddie and Madeline. So what do I mean by this? So we have the scenes with Donna and Harold Smith, which I think in many ways form a type of tender and heartbroken soul of this episode Twin Peaks, because we see a number of things. First, we see where the diary is hidden in terms of the secret compartment with a doohickey, to borrow the word from Donna. I love that word, doohickey. I love it when you have a film or a TV show use the word doohickey, and good for Donna. So it's referring to some kind of lever or button or something on the right hand side, which then releases the compartment, the secret compartment in the bookshelf, which apparently is where the hiding place. So the mission for the two of them is to get the diary. And so how are they going to do this? Well, Maddie's going to go and sneak in while Donna is essentially distracting Harold Smith, his attention. So, but leading up to this, of course, we have the scene between Donna and Harold, and Donna providing or making the proposal to Harold, and then taking the diary out as a type of playful gesture out of the house, to the great shock and maybe horror of Harold. He goes out, but of course, remember, Harold is he's shut in and he can't leave. He can't leave to the outside. And when he tries and reaches out, his hand shakes and he falls and he thinks. Note this detail about the hand shaking, right? We might see later on, who knows, some details about hand shaking in Twin Peaks, and the trembling of the hand. That's what I mean. Here we have the trembling of Harold Smith's hand. We might see it later in some future episodes, but for now, let's remember that he is trembling, trying to reach out to grab the diary. He does end up getting the diary, if you notice, in terms of getting it in his hands when he faints. But the point is that it is something that he can't get out, and this might be an indication of Donna maybe overstepping her bounds, maybe going a bit too far in her attempts at trying to achieve this mission. And maybe it is to the detriment of her relationship with Harold. But so far, there doesn't seem to be any direct effect, because in a following scene, she's back and she reveals a story about when she and Laura were 13 and going to meet these boys and talking about first love and Josh, Rick, and Tim. And this is Donna saying that this was the first time she felt a sense of love because of the idea of going skinny dipping and Tim, this boy, going out and sharing an intimate moment and the like. And so this is a quite a powerful scene. The way it's shot and it's dimly lit, and we have a kind of a singular shot going into Donna, who then stands up and turns and twirls as though she's caught in a moment of dream and memory and fantasy even. Let us remember this too, because we might see later, or maybe we've seen it already, who knows, this idea of the past of Laura and Donna and what their experiences, their shared experiences have been together, and those shared experiences that might have had, in certain examples, certain instances, some kind of implications in terms of sexual or intimate relations with other people. This might come up again later in the context of a backstory, if you will, of Laura and Donna. But we shall see. We shall see going. In any event, this is also part of a so-called backstory, at least as expressed by Donna in this particular moment. It might be interesting to consider whether it's indeed true or not. But but above all else, it is part of this moment and the atmosphere and the ambiance that is very haunting, very dreamlike, and also very much part of the hidden nature, something that is underneath, secrets that are revealed. Again, talking about Donna and her first love or feelings of love, and her being able to share this with Harold. So Harold becomes this very important listener. So we understand too that Harold is a listener. He is able to gather the thoughts and stories of people, and that includes Donna, and we assume that might include Laura, although maybe Laura might have been a different situation. Maybe Laura had secrets that were impenetrable. And indeed, we have a sense of this at the very end when Harold and his breakdown and that rake thing and the scratching of his face maybe is suggestive of, and he says it in the words, he's maybe suggesting that maybe Laura's secrets were not accessible. Much like what Dr. Jacoby was describing in the earlier episodes when Dr. Jacoby was discussing his sessions with Laura Palmer. But it's a very interesting concept. In many ways, too, Harold Smith might be said to be the Dr. Jacoby of these episodes where Dr. Jacoby is not present, because as we know, again, as Ed indicated, Dr. Jacoby, I think, is in Hawaii recovering from his heart attack. So, but in any event, it's very fascinating figure that Harold Smith, I think, poses and inhabits in terms of his position here in Twin Peaks, as well as his very ambiguous, or maybe not so ambiguous, very almost direct relationship with Donna. They share a very intimate moment, Donna and Harold do, and to the point where is Donna. Is Donna faking it in a manner of speaking, or is she really feeling, even in this very precise and maybe brief moment, the briefest of moments, is she feeling something genuine towards Harold? It might be the latter. We shall see again how Donna reacts, and again we have to see too how the very end of the episode with this kind of this really frightening situation, the discovery of Maddie and sort of the betrayal that Harold feels and the anger that he feels, how this will then affect this relationship between Donna and Harold going forward. Because remember too, when Donna was so upset about the stuff that was happening between James and Maddie in a past episode, where did she go? She went to Harold. So it was almost as though Harold was the only place of solace that Donna could go to in this time of essentially crisis, because of course she and James were an item, but James was caught in the embrace of another woman. So but in any event, very fascinating stuff indeed, especially how the episode ends in this frightening manner with the what is that, the canted angle, the angles of the camera is tilted like this, with the very eerie lighting, and what's going to happen to Maddie and Donna, and it seems like they're in a whole heck of danger. We shall see, and this is a great cliffhanger, by the way. That's another thing too about Twin Peaks. Twin Peaks is it's a set of episodes that has so many great cliffhangers, really wonderful indeed. So, right, we have again a lot of things beginning to come together as well. Things that are emerging that were mentioned maybe, but then were receding in the background, but now are coming back, like the note from Audrey that was caught under the bed there from Cooper. He finally was able to discover it, and finally that's the clue that allows him to get to Audrey and hopefully rescue her in time. Also, the thing about Ghostwood, that's also coming back into the fore, and then also the stuff about the diary, or the secret diary. There was mention too of a diary of Laura Palmer, but of course that was from the pilot episode. But now we have this more mentionings of diaries, and maybe the secrets are hidden within. So this element is also coming back into the fore, as well as the reemergence and reintroduction of more characters. We had seen in previous episodes the return of some characters like Josie. Now we're seeing also more kind of returns, or the returns, if you will. Nadine is back from the hospital. Ed is also back there with her. What is that going to mean going forward? We shall see. We shall see. So much stuff to talk about with this and other episodes, but let us end here. And so we have the next episode, which is episode 13. So I look forward to seeing you then, my friends. But until then, please be happy and healthy and well, and please keep on watching a lot of Twin Peaks. So I'll see you at the next one, my dear friends, and cheers.